It's that time of year again. The snow has melted and all of the ugly messes are popping up. There's always plenty of cleaning to be done on the homestead, but in the springtime, that is when we do the most. If you're new here, my name is Hala. My husband works over 1,000 miles away, and I stay home and take care of everything, including our children, while he is away. Spring looks a little bit different this year as my husband has not been home since the beginning of April. And one might think that April is spring, but up here, realistically, spring doesn't start until mid to the end of May. Not only is there a lot of cleanup that needs to be done, but I need something to keep me busy while my husband's away to keep me from getting depressed and down. So I decided to just start working on the cleanup on my own. I have always been a pretty strong and independent woman, but having a husband around sometimes can make you get used to relying on somebody else to do the heavy lifting. So with my husband being gone, I have really had to work on myself and just push myself a little harder than I normally would. Because at the end of the day, if I don't get the job done, then the job won't get done at all. I don't have somebody here to do things for me anymore. I have to get it done myself, and I really would like to get a lot of things done before my husband gets home. That way he wouldn't be stressed out when he got home and he could relax and, not have to do a bunch of things that he thought would be waiting for him at home when he returned. Which means I had to break the heavy equipment out a couple of times, but he's gonna be so happy when he sees all of the things that I got done while he was gone. We have a back road by our house that a lot of people use to get to a restaurant that is actually owned by my family. And that is also the place that I run my bakery out of, so I need to get there quite often. And this spring, there has been a tree hanging over the road that everyone's just been driving under and kind of waiting for it to fall down. The day I headed over to do some baking, the tree had finally fallen, and it stopped me right in my tracks. I had to turn around and go home and get the chainsaw because I didn't happen to be carrying it with me this time. This tree really wasn't one of those trees that you could easily remove while it was hanging there because it was kind of a hazard, so that's why we all just waited until it fell on its own, and we've been getting a lot of heavy rain lately, and that finally did the job. Luckily for me and all the locals, I know how to run a chainsaw, and all I've got right now is this little electric chainsaw that my grandpa lent me because my husband's chainsaw is just too big for me to start, but this little guy will do the job. Soon I plan on getting myself my own chainsaw that is just right for me, and I actually prefer a gas chainsaw over an electric one just because the electric ones don't hold a charge for very long, and if you're out in the woods working all day, it's kind of hard to charge a chainsaw. In fact, I barely had enough juice to get this tree cut out of the road because I had used it a little bit at home before and I didn't put it on the charger. So I was lucky enough that I had just enough battery power to cut 2 big chunks out of this tree and get them out of the road. There was a little bit of tension in this tree when I cut it. As you can see, the butt of the tree kind of stuck back up when I cut it, and I was trying to watch it and make sure that it didn't snap back in my face, which all was well. I got it all cut out with no issues, and I was able to drag these big logs out of the road. Being that it was a green tree, it was a little bit harder to cut through with the chainsaw, but again, it was good enough to do the job, and now the road's clear, so everyone else and myself can make it through the road again. I decided since it is the end of May that it would be a good time to clean out the ash out of the wood box. As you can see, I'm trying to figure out how exactly this works because this is a new wood stove and it supposedly has a mechanism that drops the ash into the box on the bottom and you can just pull it out. But unfortunately, in order to get that to work, you have to take all the bricks out, and I just was not willing to do that. So I ended up deciding after looking at it for quite a while and trying to figure it out that I was just gonna scoop the ash out by hand. All I could find for this at the time was an old coffee can, so I just used that and scooped out the ash after I broke it up a lot with the fire poker because it was kind of packed down. It would have definitely been helpful to have a mask while doing this because there was a lot of really fine dust that I didn't want to breathe in, but I didn't have anything, so I just did my best to cover my face as much as I could and try not to breathe the dust from the ash in. Normally my husband would do this, but I really didn't want to have to save it for him, so I just decided to go ahead and do it because that way he doesn't have to worry about it when he gets home and he can just relax. I know you probably think since it's the middle of May we don't need the wood stove anymore, and that's why I cleaned the ash box out, but actually I do still need the wood stove and it was getting overly full, so another reason I cleaned the ash box out was so I could continue to use the wood stove. I haven't been having fires 24/7 since back in April, but there's definitely been a couple days a week where I've needed to start a fire and keep it going for a couple hours to kind of heat the house up because it's been pretty cold and rainy, which is normal for this time of year, and it's just a little too chilly without the fire.
Best videos ever, better than anybody's.
I wish I could make the best fires ever.
Daddy told me make the best fires.
That's right. Daddy's really good at making fires.
I'm sure you're the best at fires, Mom.
Well, thank you.
You are then.
I don't know what I would do without my little supporters cheering me on in every little thing that I do. There are a lot of messes for me to clean up, and I'm hoping when my husband gets home, he really sees the difference and notices the messes that we cleaned up while he was gone. Now I need to find a use for all of these buckets because who knew that I was going to end up with so many buckets after building our house. And this isn't even all of them. There's still multiple piles of them elsewhere that need to get consolidated. I'm sure I'll find a great use for all of those buckets, but in the meantime, they work good for walking around and picking up trash. Some of the scrap wood has been laying out here for a couple of years, and I decided to consolidate it with our other pile of scrap wood. And in the process, I was kind of coming up with some ideas for some uses of the scrap wood. One of them being fixing my greenhouse. That I have a Harbor Freight greenhouse and the frame has completely collapsed. So I'm thinking I'll make a new frame using this scrap wood, and I will screw the plastic panels onto the new frame. I'll do a video on it later when I do get around to that project. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to finish it in time to start any seats this year. I ended up doing all of those in the house this year because if I were to wait until I got that done, then it would just never happen. But it will be really nice to have my greenhouse back for next spring because I want to have a really big garden. But it feels good to get all of these scrap piles cleaned up and at least consolidated into one place. Regardless of all my spring cleaning projects, I do still have my weekly cleaning tasks that I try to do at least once a week, and that is sweeping and mopping the floors, cleaning the bathrooms, and deep cleaning the kitchen. I was gone for a week, and then I've been home for almost a week, and I still hadn't got around to it, so I decided to get that done today. That way we could have a nice and clean home. Cooking is another one of my important tasks, and here you see me cooking up some kokanee that we caught through the ice this winter. And I like to keep it super simple. I just spread some mayonnaise on top, Sprinkle it with my favorite fish seasoning and then put some lemons on there. It helps keep it nice and juicy and full of flavor. My kids love it and so do I. So that's all I've got for today. If you like watching my journey as a solo mom taking care of my children and everything else while my husband is working far away, then please make sure you like and subscribe. And leave me a comment if we have anything in common.